Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Building Nebraska podcast. It's a podcast about dreamers and doers as we showcase those who turn ideas into reality. Building Nebraska, produced by the Rural Radio Network and proudly powered by the Angler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program located at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Speaking of Lincoln, we are in Lincoln, downtown Lincoln, in fact, as we visit with Cody Schmick. He is the managing partner of Kinkaider Brewing Company. Company born in Nebraska, grown in Nebraska. And you guys have certainly grown, but let's go back to the early days, 2014, when things began out in Broken Bow.
Yeah, you bet. You know, we thanks for having me on, by the way. This is awesome. But out in Broken Bow, 10 years ago, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. It's crazy, I guess, last year. But we decided we were going to open a brewery. Broken Bow is where we lived at the time, right? Like, so it was me, Danny, Barry, and Nate. We thought, you know, this could be a good solution. I mean, Broken Bow, if you don't know much about Broken Bow, it's a thriving little community. I mean, people absolutely, they care about that town. They love that little town. And so we knew if we kind of set up home base there, we'd have that crowd pushing us. And it's funny, whether people drink beer or not, they're pushing Kinkaider and Broken Bow, which is cool.
Okay, so from 2014 to 2025, where we sit, a lot of growth across the state of Nebraska. Try to summarize it for us to where you guys stand.
Yeah. So obviously, Mothership there in Broken Bow has continued to grow. We started with 2,500 square feet. We're over 20,000 square feet. Great place to have a beer. We have a full restaurant out there. We kind of kept moving east. We have our spot right around the corner here, downtown Lincoln. We do some big tailgates there. Tailgate by the train is a big one that we have for game days. And then we put one in Omaha, so Kinkaider's in Omaha as well, tap room there. And then we started 2 new brands. So one was Sideshow Spirits. We're Lincoln's first ever legal distillery. So we're making bourbon, single malt, American single malt whiskey. We have a great little cocktail bar there. It's a whole different beast, but it's been a blast. And then where we're sitting now is Bierhaus Maisschäler. This is our German beer house concept that we started just over about 2 years ago now, just over 2 years. This is our #1 location. We added the rooftop on this. We have a beautiful rooftop bar on it.
Great rooftop.
But yeah, just kind of kept expanding, and now we're building 2 new locations in Kearney, Nebraska. So we're throughout Nebraska. We're trying to continue to grow. Got some stuff in the legislature this year, so that'll help us grow. But we're putting a Kinkaider Brewing and a beer house side by side out in Kearney, Nebraska. So,
well, what you're doing can't be easy, right? Being in this kind of a space, in fact, in a space down in the Haymarket is obviously expensive. A lot of people have tried to put restaurants in, but as you mentioned, Beer House, where we're sitting, has found success. Why do you think you have found success, and what's been the key to it so far?
Yeah, you know, we've got such a good team, man. Like we have around 120 people on the team. Probably add another 30 or 40 when we go to Kearney. And it really has been building this culture around good beer, good whiskey, good community, and we've instilled that into our staff. I mean, our retention rate is really, really good. People like being a part of our crew, and once they get on our crew, they stick around. So, you know, I'm a big believer. If you take care of your staff, they're going to take care of your customers, and it's just going to kind of balloon from there. The other thing, I mean, Beer House in particular, we're on a great corner. I mean, this is 8th and P, maybe the best corner in the state of Nebraska. You know, you got the oven, the mill, kind of great businesses down here. We've learned how to do business in the Haymarket. People think the Haymarket's just slammed busy all the time, and when it is, right? But we got some slow days down here, so we got to figure out activations and how to bring people in, and that's one of the things our team is really good at.
How do you make people become fans of Kinkaider Brewing Company?
That's a good question. You know, I think it really comes down to authenticity. I've been screaming this for years, but people want to see an authentic group growing something authentic, right? And so it's really been just showing our excitement. We have extremely passionate beer people on our team, not just ownership, but like folks that work within our organization. We have extremely passionate whiskey people on our team. We have extremely passionate events people on our team. And so I think as long as you're excited, I feel like our crew can be successful at anything as long as we're excited about it, right? There's been things that we've tried over the years, like, maybe we'll try this, but nobody was really passionate about it. And so we kind of pulled back from those things. But if you have passionate people on your team attacking these things and driving that excitement, people are attracted to that, and we've done a good job at doing that, I believe.
Well, in the introduction, I mentioned you're a managing partner. I think you said back to the founding, four of you were. How did you get four people, similar idea, right, wanting to work together to grow this business?
So I was living in Broken Bow at the time. I got invited to a little homebrew meeting in the back of an insurance office owned by Nate Bell. Nate knew I was excited about craft beer. And this was kind of when craft beer in Nebraska was just really kind of launching. Yeah. So timing was good for us as well. We've made plenty of mistakes, but one of the things that we did right was just kind of that timing. We weren't too early, we weren't too late. And so they invited me down. Dan Hodges, a.k.a. Dan the Wiser, was brewing fantastic beer, home brewer. He would bring his beer, and I was like, gosh, your beer is so... And there was great beers, right? But his beer was just so good. And so me and Danny became fast friends. And so I went home, wrote a business plan, and put together this idea of a microbrewery. I was very excited about it, started pitching it to Nate and to Dan, and they were pretty much instantly on. And then our fourth business partner, Barry, he was actually working for Adams Land and Cattle at the time, and he was looking for something new, and so he hit me up and said, hey, what do you think about doing this out on this 4-acre piece of land that's a mile north of Broken Bow? And at first I was a little hesitant. I was like, oh no, we got to be on Highway 2. We got to be able to be visible and be seen. We went out there. I just fell in love with the place, man. It is the best place to have a beer in the state of Nebraska. We have a beautiful outdoor covered patio, heated. We've got a huge outdoor stage, like just a lot of, just activations out there that people can enjoy. And it's a great place to have a beer. And so when Barry jumped on, it was like, I don't know, it's these four guys that we all had some successes in our past, but we were all four just focused on making a great beer brand in Nebraska. And we all four had very different skill sets too. And on paper, me and Barry have kind of taken over the management of this. Danny's semi-retired. He's still involved. He'll be involved forever. And his son Jesse is taking care of a ton of the brewing operations things now. And Barry and I just work well together. Our skill sets are completely opposite. On paper, we probably wouldn't even get along, to be honest with you. But we've been partners for 10 years. I've talked to that guy at least 6 days a week for 10 years, right? And he's in Broken Bow and I'm here. Nate, our other partner, he was one of the oldest homebrewers in the state, wrote a lot of our original recipes, and very passionate about craft beer as well. So it was just kind of this perfect storm of these four guys all looking for something kind of where art and creativity and our love for craft beer and our love for Nebraska products and our love for small business kind of convened at the right time. So I would say the stars aligned a little bit. So
from that original plan, you went back and drew a business plan. That is, how close is it as you look now 10 plus years down the road?
We always tease our 5-year business plan. We blew it out in 6 months. So after that, it was just, okay, we got to figure out what's next. So we've gotten, we've been all over the map. We've been to the mountain and back on this and making decisions on how to grow and where to grow and why to grow. And is all these questions that we've had to ask ourselves over the years, because it's fun to see some success, but what's next? And in our business, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards, right? Like, you've got to stay relevant, you've got to stay exciting. I have really taken the approach on marketing our business, and that's my end of the business, is if you're not here at one of our places every single day, I want you to feel like you're missing out on something, because you are. We've got something going on all the time. And so we're constantly pushing events, constantly pushing new beers, trying to push that limit when and where we can. I mean, just last week, right on this street, from P to O, we had 1,200 people on this street on Saturday in February, right? We took a big chance. We have our big Bachfest. It's like a 6 months to Oktoberfest. We had a ton of people out here. People are just looking for cool things. They want to be a part of something fun and cool and give them a reason to get out of the house. I always say the bar next door is not our competition. It's not. Our competition is getting people out of Netflix, off of the couch and coming here. So, yeah.
You talk about business and reevaluating things. You had a location in Grand Island, evaluated that, and now you're expanding into Kearney, but had to shut down that location.
We did, yeah.
Talk about growing, but also having to make strategic decisions along the way.
Yeah, so most people don't even know this, but in the state of Nebraska, there is a current law as it sits. You can have 5 retail locations. A brewery or a distillery can have 5 retail locations outside of the production. we are maxed out. We're one of the only ones that are maxed out. So when we signed up, I mean, we've been negotiating Kearney with the Eunice family for a couple years, and we're finally getting to the finish line, and we're hopefully going to be opening up pretty soon, later on this year.
Yeah.
And so we had to make a hard decision. We were hoping that we could get the law changed last year. We did not get that done. We had introduced some legislation. We could not get it done. This year, we do have a new bill on, LB 113. It's going to be able to add 3 more licenses, so we're asking for 8 instead of 5. And I know this is a little confusing, but this will give us the opportunity to expand. We want to open more places. Legally today, we can't.
Why restrict it to 5 in the first place, and why instead of 8? Why
Yeah.
not just say unlimited?
Yeah, so in the state of Nebraska, there's what's called the 3-tiered system, where us as a producer has to sell to a distributor. The distributor sells to the retailer. There's got to be kind of those 3 components. Well, of course, for our places, if we own the bar, why would we ever sell to the distributor and buy back? But over 5 locations, that's what the state of Nebraska expects us to do today. It's one of those laws that when they made it, they just kind of said, oh, nobody's ever going to hit this 5. Well, we hit it, and now what do we do? And so we're working with several senators. Almost nobody is against changing this. It's just one of these things that we got to go through the process to figure out.
One of those nuances out there. There's a few of them in the capital city.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, you talked about your competition not being the
It's
other
not
bars,
the other bars,
perhaps
man,
in Lincoln.
Not the other
but
breweries even.
That's what I wanted to
I'm
ask
a huge fan of the
You don't
breweries
see the
in
other
Nebraska.
breweries in the state of Nebraska?
Bro, I was in White Elm last night. Like, White Elm's one of my favorite breweries, right? Like, I obviously love what we do, but I want to see what other people are doing too. I want to see, you had mentioned offline, the boys of Scratchtown, man. You guys just talked with them. They're some of my favorite guys. I always tease Caleb that, they opened about a year before we did. And I always say, well, if those dummies in Ord can do it, we can figure it out. But I love those guys, man. And it's like, and there is some truth to that. They took this chance of opening a brewery out in the middle of what a lot of people in eastern Nebraska would say is nowhere. And we wanted to do the same thing. And we have partnered with those guys. We've done collab beers with those guys. We go to their events. They come to our events. And so in the brewing world, at least in Nebraska, there is a real rising tide lifts all boats mentality. And when you think about craft beer in general in Nebraska, it's a very small percentage of the overall beer that's being drank in Nebraska, right? This is Busch Light country for the most part, right? So we're trying to convince people that, hey, maybe there's something else that you can, and we're not even against Busch Light. Like, that's not a negative thing. It's just we want something that's local, that's made here. We try to use as much Nebraska ingredients as we can. We try to tell Nebraska's story in our branding and marketing, and people have really grasped onto that. And so we're just trying to grow craft beer in general. And if Scratchtown or White Elm or Empyrean brings somebody new in and they're like, hey, I kind of like this, who's next? Guess what? They're going to come to Kinkaider next. And I see that, and our group has seen that. And so we've really taken the approach of we want to see the industry continue to grow because everybody's going to win then.
A few business-related questions.
Yeah,
of course,
sure.
Not all times are good. Bring me back to maybe a more challenging time in business.
Well, I mean, the most challenging time was, of course, the COVID years. Broken Bow was actually up in sales, if you can believe
I believe it.
Lincoln was way down in sales.
Yeah,
so
people in Lincoln driving out to Bow, experiencing freedom.
It was a frustrating time. I'm not going to lie, and I don't want to get too in the weeds on it because here's the thing. It was a hard time, but man, we learned a lot during that time. And I'll be honest with you, the small businesses that came out of that and could build back, because I think we're still seeing some of the waves from that time, right? Especially in our industry. But the businesses that could pull through that and come back, I don't know. Our team kind of feels bulletproof now because if we can get through that, man, we can get through anything. We can figure anything out. That was definitely a challenging time. Over the years, we've made some bad decisions. There's no doubt, but I think as a small business owner, you really have to look at those bad, quote unquote, bad decisions as learning opportunities. You're never going to make that decision again. So yeah, it has some value, right? And so that's how we take it. I don't know if it's the right way to look at it, but it's how we like to look at it. And every hard time is a chance for our team to grow. And I feel like we've done a good job at capitalizing on those hard times and figuring out how to push the envelope, how to push the barrier. I mean, you don't get into business because you're risk adverse, right? Like you get into business because you think you have something that you can offer to the world and you believe in it so much. I'm just a fan of that mindset, and I want to help grow that when and where we can.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs that will watch this segment. What's your advice to them?
My best advice be passionate about what you're doing. If you're obviously we all want to make money. That's part of life, right? That's part of the American dream. But if money is your main motivator, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Build culture, build fans, build friends, build community. That's the things that I personally get fulfillment from, and my team likes that too. They like being a part of the crew. They like being, buying our merch and drinking our beer, and being a part of this culture is so important. So believe in what you're doing. That's the best way. I know there's guys that are very successful business guys that have zero passion for that product or that thing that they're doing, right? At some point, I don't know. It's just something that for me, I have to believe in it, or else it's going to be hard for me to get out of bed and push it every day. You know what I mean? So our business is easy to believe in too, because it's fun. Like we want people to come in, have a good time, watch a polka band in the street in February, right? So it's definitely, I think it just comes down to being passionate for me personally. Yeah.
How do you balance as an entrepreneur now more than 10 years in this space? Yeah. Trying to grow a business, but also try to find a little bit of personal time as well. It's
extremely hard. It's a decision that you have to be pretty intentional on, because as we were just having this conversation the other day, there's no end, right? Like you can, and I'm not even saying that in a bad way. We can choose our own adventure, right? We can chase different things. We can build the next event. We can build the next product. We can build the next bar, the next restaurant. How do you have that balance? And every person's got to figure it out for themselves. I've had to learn some pretty hard lessons on that front, because I'll be honest with you, I wake up thinking about this business and I go to sleep thinking about this business. It's on my mind all day, every day for the last 10 years. And it is hard to disconnect sometimes, but you've got to figure out those times to, put that phone down, put it on silent, put it away, spend some time with your family, because you will miss stuff, right? There's a trade, there's a cost for everything. And work's always going to be there. The business, there's always an opportunity to grow a business. I made a switch in that exact thing this last year, and I just said intentionally, like, I have got my kids are growing older. I've got a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. I need to spend some time with them. And, but I have this thing where when I'm away from the business, I'm thinking about that. And so I got to figure out how to pull that away. And I have. I think there's been some things, some safeguards in my life that I've put up to really value that family time, whatever you put your investment in is what's going to grow. And if you don't invest in it, it will wither away. And whether that's a business or a family, you have to manage them differently. You got to manage them differently. My wife told me one time, I love husband Cody. I don't love work Cody all the time. And she's right, So it's the entrepreneur, the small business owner. It's definitely going to be your biggest challenge in life, for sure, to get that balance.
Well, congratulations on the success of Kinkaider Brewing thus far. Quick sneak peek, what's ahead? You got Kearney coming online. Anything else you can share with us?
You bet. Yeah, so Kearney, we're building a great spot right on the other side. Cunningham's on the lake is actually one of our top 5 accounts in the entire state. Love those dudes. We're actually building on the other side of the lake. We're going to join the community. They're excited about us coming in. The Eunice family is building something really special out there in Kearney, so later on this year. We do got one other thing we're working on. I was hoping I'd have the paperwork signed by today, but I don't, so I can't say exactly, but it has to do with our distillery and another cocktail bar somewhere. So, yeah.
Well, stay tuned then. That's the word.
Yes, sir.
As they'd say on the radio. Yep. Cody, thank you very much for sitting down with us, and thank you to those watching today for joining us for another episode of the Building Nebraska podcast. Again, proudly powered by the Angler Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.